This is for the Authority Board special meeting of December 14th. Please join me. Well, first of all, as far as roll call, note we're all here except Julie Pierce. She's on her way. Candace Anderson is replacing federal government tonight. And Don Tatson's doing double duty. He's also our ex officio for Christian Peoples. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll open public comment. Now is the time for anybody in the audience to address us on anything other than what's on the agenda, hopefully pertaining to CCTA. Irene, do we have any cards? Okay, public comment going once, going twice. Public comment is closed. We are on to approval of the minutes for November 16, 2016. Any additions, corrections, motions?
Move approval. Second.
Motion Romick, second Tatson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. No abstentions. Consent calendar items, generally routine in nature. Acted upon with a single motion. Do we have any cards? No. Anyone
Chair.
from the board wish to pull something?
No,
Somebody said chair. I heard him. What was
Chair, right here. I would
ahead.
just like to make a motion, but I'd like to make a comment
Go ahead.
on 2A9.
Okay.
That is our CAFR. I just want to compliment our staff. It is one of the most thoroughly written. There are numbers, and the numbers are all balanced, but the explanations and the detail, given the type of agency we are, trying to explain that we don't have assets other than cash, because when we build something, somebody else owns it. Our investments, at APC, we really spent some time on this, and just want to really compliment. This is one of the best CAFRs I think we've seen, and I know that the staff put a lot of work in that. Without it, I'd move the consent calendar items.
Can I?
Just a minute. Go ahead, Mr. Leone.
I just wanted to say that I wanted to abstain from 2A5.
Please make that note. We have a motion. Arnridge, second. Was it Tatson?
No.
No. I'm sorry, Janet. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 1. Mr. Leone. Also, I'm not sure if 2A9 is the correct number, but if you take a look at that, we'll revise it afterwards. Okay, go ahead. 2A5. Okay, I thought it said 9. My apologies. Okay. Also, please note that Mala is being replaced tonight by Amanda Chorn. Did I get that right? And I'm not going into the college, though it was mentioned to me. All right. We are on to item 4.1. This is, what are we? Who's doing this thing tonight? We got so many consent calendar items. That would be Hisham. Where's Hisham? We got 4A11. Proposed exchange agreement with the Metropolitan Transportation. Hisham, you've changed. All right, I'm sorry. Brad, you've got this?
I do.
Let's go.
Good evening, Chair and committee members. I'm here, as you'll see soon, to talk about the coordinating call for projects for the second cycles of OBAG and Measure J, TLC, and PVDF programs. The authority released the call for projects in September. Deadline was last Friday, and in response to the call for projects, we received 76 different projects. And there is a handout that lists all 76 that we received. Thank you. Let me give a little background first on the program.
Too many fours.
Well, I'll do it by hand. A little background, there are 3 programs in the call for projects. There's 56, little over, for the One Bay Area Grant Program, 27.8 for Measure J Transportation for Livable Communities, 7.6 for Measure J Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Trail Facilities programs. As the note notes, there's another $3.6 million in PBTF funds that go directly to the East Bay Regional Park District for maintaining and improving paved regional trails in the county. Within the OBAG program itself, there are 5 separate subprograms. One is the CMA Planning and Outreach that goes directly to the authority for its congestion management agency responsibilities. There's $4 million that goes for Safe Routes to School. The authority earlier decided to allocate that out to the regional transportation planning committees, who will select the projects. The federal aid secondary program, that is for roads in unincorporated areas, that goes directly to the county. The local streets and roads preservation program, that earlier the authority decided to allocate that funding by formula to the 20 jurisdictions in Contra Costa. And finally, there's a competitive program, about $18 million that's competitive throughout the county, though each region will get at least their top scoring project. The last 2 of those programs, those sub-programs, 70% of that funding, about $46 million, has to be spent in or near priority development areas. So in terms of what we got, there were 51 projects that applied for some kind of One Bay Area grant funding, 17 for the competitive, 20 jurisdictions, for the local streets and roads preservation program, 13 safe routes projects, and 1 federal aid secondary project that goes to the county. Now, some of those applicants applied for funding at the same time as part of their OBAG application for Measure J funding. So, for example, 7 projects who applied for the competitive program also applied to have some Measure J TLC funds. 6 applicants asked to have some Measure J PBDF funds as part of the funding package that include One Bay Area grant funding. There were 34 projects applying for Measure J TLC, either as a match for One Bay Area grant, there were 8 of those, or asking just for Measure J TLC funding, there were 29 of those. Similarly, for the PBTF funding, there were 29 requests, 10 using the PBTF money as a match for OBAG, and 21 just asking for PBTF by itself. Now, there's a lot of overlap because some projects applied for OBAG, just OBAG funds, some applied for OBAG plus a match from Measure J, some applied for OBAG and applied separately for TLC and separately for TLC. So it's a very complicated mix, and if you look at the handout of all the projects, you can see the different funding sources that each project applied for. So it's going to be a bit complicated trying to figure out who gets what kind of funding. We titled this Oversubscription because you'll see that some of the programs have a certain amount of funding, and there is a request that's substantially higher than that. For example, the request for the OBAG competitive project, there was about 2.9 times more requests than there is available. Local streets and roads, it's a 1.01. That's because there was a mistake in one of the requests. They asked for more money than their share. 2 times the request for Safe Routes to School than there is available. TLC is about 2%, 2 times more requests than applications, 6 times more for PBTF. So some projects are not going to get funded, or they'll get funded at lower levels, or but also there's a lot of overlap among the projects. So the situation isn't quite as dire as it looks. Applications by sub-area, I thought you'd be interested in this. OBAG in West County, there are 5 competitive, 6 local streets and roads projects, 4 Safe Routes to School, and no federal aid secondary projects. Central County, there are there's a mix. I won't go through every one of them. One thing I'll point out, the local streets column, you'll see that there are 21 applications. That's because the county's local streets component or project was in two separate localities. And that's also true for the TLC. The county applied for a project that would be in both Central and Southwest County, similar to the Olympic Corridor study that was funded last time around, that was in both Southwest and Central Contra Costa. So altogether, we ended up with 76 projects. 2 of them are double counted, which is why I've got 78 shown in this table. The Measure J funding, I also broke this out by sub-area. You'll note that it's just West Central and Southwest. East County doesn't get any funding this time around. West County, 11 million available, 32 million in requests. So, and overall, it's about 55 million in requests for 28 million in funding available. So the process, we're going to have the different review committees review the different applications. There'll be an OBAG Measure J task force that will be looking at the OBAG applications. The TLC, Measure J TLC applications will go to the regional committees who will review them and make recommendations, along with the Safe Routes to School funding. And the countywide Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee will be reviewing the PBTF recommendations. After we get all those recommendations, we'll be working together to try to figure out how to fund as many projects as possible, to minimize the number that have to go through the Caltrans local assistance process, and try to make it a rational funding package, which we'll bring back to you. So the schedule is in January through March. The different review committees will be working, trying to do their recommendations. There'll be some chance for sponsors to review the initial scoring in early April. Get back to us. We'll incorporate that into a recommendation that will go to the TCC in May, Planning Committee in June, and Authority finally on June 21st of next year. We have until the end of July, so if something comes up, we still have a little extra time to get our recommendations to MTC, which is due at the end of July. So if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Member Arnage?
Brad, thanks for the concise report. Just as a question, and I'm going to use an example just to understand the process. Under the TLC, there's 3 regions that are eligible for that. There's 27.7 million available, 54 million requested, and then you broke down by each of those 3 regions how much money is allotted for that. So are you saying the RTCPs in each of those 3 regions will make decisions of which ones, given the limitation, they will come up with that and it'll come back to the authority?
Right.
Is that how
right. We'll be sending out the applications for, if a project applies, or a sponsor applies, the project doesn't do it. If the sponsor applies for TLC, Measure J TLC funding, either as a match or by itself, those projects will be forwarded to the RTPCs for their review, and they'll go through the process of ranking the projects. They'll submit us a list of 125%. Because some of the projects are applying for funding through multiple sources, it may be that we'll fund a project that a sub-region suggests for funding through TLC, but it might be better to fund it through OBAG. So we'll have to go down the list. We're asking for a prioritized list from the RTPCs, and then we'll just go down on their next recommendation.
Okay.
And then put it all together in a program.
Great. Fair enough. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I find myself in a unique situation here. I have to slow up and try and make this slower because I see Bart just got here, and I don't want to finish the meeting before Julie gets here. So Yeah, let's have I'm sure there are more questions of Brad. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, Brad, forgive my ignorance, but can you re-explain why is it that East County, it doesn't qualify, and how did you come up with the proportional figures that you came up with?
Martin, would you open the door for them? Oh, never mind, I got it.
Well, a long time ago, at the beginning of Measure J, East County got one project around the Bailey Road Pittsburgh Bay Point BART station. The project was around along Bailey. But other than that, the East County asked that all of their future money that the region would get through the TLC program be set aside and used for the e-BART project. So for these first two cycles, all the money that they would have gotten for TLC ended up going for the e-BART project. Now, it looks like they'll start getting, in the next cycle, third cycle, they'll start getting TLC funding. That's the story.
Okay, and then the second part of that question was the proportions. How do you
yes.
determine the amount?
Well, Measure J says it's supposed to be set on 5-year population shares. So it's basically if West County has 20% of the population, 20% of the TLC funding would go to that. So it's strictly on population.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we just received the report. It's information only. The next item would be the letter from the Sierra Club. Any comments, questions? Seen that? The associated committee reports are there. Anybody comment on Central Committee, East County? Anything from Southwest, West County? We're on to the chair's comments and reports. I'd like to start off with something special. We have with us for her last time at CCTA, Sherry McCoy's leaving us. She came all the way back so that we could give her some recognition. So if you would, Sherry, would you come forward? I'm going to see if I can do this. Oh, you will receive the golden couple. Oh, yeah. Hopefully this thing comes all the way over here. Test. Yes, it works. Sherry's leaving us for the last time. She, I thought, for an alternate, did an outstanding job. Many times when you have to fill in and you don't get to read this every week and see what's going on, it's a little tough to get these 2.5 trees they give you to read each month. But Sherry, I think you did an excellent job, and some of us like to recognize you. We have a commendation for Sherry McCoy for exemplary service to the authority from 2013 through 2016. As a representative of the WICTAC board beginning in 2013, Sherry McCoy has played a significant role in the delivery of key transportation projects in Contra Costa, with some of the most notable being the Interstate 80 Smart Corridor and San Pablo Dam Road Phase 1 improvements. Do you remember those? Sherry McCoy has been a strong advocate for improving transit and has been consistent champion for the Regional Intermodal Transit Center at Hercules project. Sherry McCoy's thoughtful and dedicated service as an alternate on the authority board and chair of WICTAC has helped shape the vision for our county's future, and her service has had a positive impact on transportation and the overall quality of life for all of Contra Costa's residents. This is presented with gratitude for her service to Contra Costa. Now you get 20 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. And I've truly, truly enjoyed serving and working with you all. As I said last time, you guys have all been really great. And, you know, you have somebody who comes on new and you kind of take them along and, you know, get them going on everything. And it's just been a real project. The staff at CCTA is just great. Randy has built a great team. And this authority has done such great work in Contra Costa County. And I look forward to more great work being done in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And there's an unwritten rule that when you leave the authority, you don't get to come back in public comment.
Well, the chair's not here right now, so I'm just going to chime in. Sherry, it has been a delight to work with you. We've had many, many, many meetings over the Hercules project over the last several years, and I like to think that between us, we've made a big difference and made it happen. So thank you so much for being there, and for your thoughtful comments always. Very much appreciated. We'll miss you.
Tom?
And I would like to say two things about Sherry. The first one is that she's clearly the most dedicated alternate of this organization. She's here whether she's needed or not. And she's always she's been willing to step in on the times that I have not been able to attend, sometimes at the last minute. And I appreciate that. The other thing is that she's been the chair of WCTAC, where she has also done an outstanding job. That WCTAC group they're a little unruly.
Herding cats.
And she's kind of corralled them and tamed them and done an excellent job, and we're going to miss her there. So thank you, Sherry.
Randy, do you have some comments? Your light was on, I'm sorry.
Oh.
You turned it off? Okay. Go ahead, Janet.
Okay. And Sherry, as I said the other day at WCTAC, we really appreciate everything that you've done. And I won't repeat what they just said, but what I will say that I've really appreciated knowing you as a friend and as a person that I could share things with about transportation, and it really made a difference. I don't know how to say it any other way, but being with you was a very enriching experience, and so thank you. And I'm really going to miss you, but I plan on still seeing you, so I look forward to that, and starting with tomorrow, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Janet.
So thank you, Sherry.
Okay, going on to the chair report, I'd like to report out that we went to what the heck do we call that? Focus Our Future in Hollywood. Whoa, strange place, Hollywood. I think what I will remember the most, I was listening to the representatives from LA Metro and at one of the breakout panels, and I was very impressed. He said their focus is not on transportation, it's not on transit, it's about mobility. And we stuck to that guideline, and he went on. There's a lot more to it. I'm not going to give you tonight. I will also remember that when LA's other representative, LA Metro's other representative, took the stage for accolades for passing a 1% sales tax with no sunset. And it took her seconds, a matter of seconds before she was lobbying the state and federal representatives for more money. I mean, they are good. There's a vacuum going down south that if we don't get our act together, it's going to be gone. It is going to be gone. Also got to meet some potential new vendors for us. I was very impressed. We made a point of bowing every time Ivan came by so they knew how important he was. But overall, I think it was a very good opportunity for us to thank a lot of people, meet a lot of people, and a very positive 2 or 3 days for this organization. Thank you. Go ahead, Robert.
Do we have to report out each member
Yes,
that went?
You're next.
you're up.
Then I'm right behind you.
You can say ditto.
And then I am too.
And Julie.
Okay,
You got 2 minutes.
well, okay, can I say that and then also something about staff in the room?
Go ahead.
Okay.
If you want, you can go last.
I'll go last.
Okay, Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I want to thank the authority for the honor of attending the conference again this year. I attended some very interesting panels. Our own Lindsay Willis did a fabulous job with her program. And it was very interesting to hear the perspective of community outreach and how Los Angeles reached their voters with the human stories of the agony of traffic in Los Angeles, and it was very effective. I also attended a very good program on freight that Fran Inman emceed, and what was interesting was to recognize we focus on freight in the large corridors, the ports, But you realize a huge amount of freight is our own local freight. Our shopping, and one of the biggest challenges is the 30% return rate for mail order goods. That has created this huge havoc. And you think of our own streets and roads and how we accommodate additional, more and more trucks delivering more and more packages. So it was a good conference, and I think we received some really good information. And again, thank our staff for participating and really being leaders in that conference.
Thank you, Amy. Janet?
Yes, I really appreciated the opportunity to go to this conference, and I've always found that one of the most interesting things I get out of these conferences is not the sessions, which I do find interesting, but rather the extra things you can do at them. So, for example, I went on a tour of a couple of joint developments at two different of the metro stations in the area of our hotel, and it gave me an opportunity to go on a tour and ride the metro in a way where we could learn things about the system, and it also gave me a better understanding of joint development and what that can mean, and all the different aspects of it that they could cover in that brief period of time. So we saw two stations, and one was an example of very low income area, and they actually built the development right over the tracks, which was a particularly technically difficult thing to do. And so they talked some about the technical difficulties of doing that, but then also about the success that they had with doing that project and how it in fact was working. And so that was really interesting. And then they took us to another station that was right there, and this was called a station development that was, quote, for the industry. The industry they never defined, but of course it meant the movie and entertainment industry. And so we got to go inside of both of the projects. We never actually saw an occupied unit, but we did get to see a model apartment in the industry building, which was very nice, of course. And I don't know who lives at this project, but my vision of it was that it was probably the children of people who are high up in the industry. But I don't really know that. That's just my mind at play. But it was also interesting to see what was immediately around. You could look around the project and see the neighborhood. You could see how, you could see what it was like to get on and off the metro system, which is, I suppose you'd call it equivalent to BART. It was also interesting to see that it was working. It was alive and well, which to me, living in the vicinity of a BART station and always trying to develop our BART stations, it's good to know that these things can happen. And so I think that was the thing that was my biggest takeaway from because my mind still is playing with that. The information I think I picked up there, the details of how would we, in fact, here do a similar kind of a project or our equivalent of that kind of a project. And I don't know, because I don't know the BART statistics too well, but I do see a BART director in the room. They move supposedly 1.4 to 1.6 million people every day. What, BART is 500,000, vaguely?
450.
450, okay. So it's about...
That's on their buses and trains.
That's on buses and trains? Okay. So then we don't really know the equivalency, but it's bigger, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah, there are 20 million people there.
I guess I won't even go there. Never mind.
Well, it's a huge population base. More people didn't do
It was at any rate, it was really interesting and gave me a lot of hope that we could do something in particular in my city where we're trying to do developments around both of our BART stations right now. And that it is possible to do it and include affordable housing in particular. So that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Piper Pierce?
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to go to Focus again this year. One of the most inspiring things is talking to our counterparts throughout the state and doing the networking that we have the opportunity to do and hear more about what they are accomplishing in their jurisdictions, and to verify that many of the things we face are the same things everybody faces, and yet that we all come up with our unique ways of dealing with them. So if we pick up a nugget here and there about how we might twist ours a little bit differently or try something new, that's always exciting. I will say that Amy and I took a tour of our own because most of the tours were sold out by the time we got there. So we got on at the Highland and Hollywood station on the Metro on the Red Line and took our own trip down to Union Station and looked through Union Station, which if you've not ever had the opportunity to go, you should. It's been all retrofitted and everything, but the history of Union Station is still there. All the beautiful finishes on the benches in the train station, the gorgeous glass dome, which is just amazing, and all of the history of that station, and then going across the street and going through the I'm drawing a blank on the name of the street. Olivera Street, which is closed off as a pedestrian mall with Mexican shops all up and down the middle and the restaurants on each side, and getting to talk to the folks and talk about the history and see, where California was basically founded way back when. It was fascinating. And then to get back to our stop at Hollywood and Highland and to exit the station and have 6 armed sheriff's folks in camouflage uniforms there watching everyone come off the station, and only later to learn there was a bomb scare on the Metro right at the time we were exiting the station. On the line we were on, it was one station further on, but it was a phone call from out of the country that threatened a bomb, and it was interesting to have been right there. And they determined the credibility was medium, so they didn't do anything except deploy armed folks. They were searching every single bathroom there, in the hotel, you name it. We didn't know till the next morning why. But it was fascinating to see the response. So we had our own little bit of excitement while we were down there.
Ooh. Now, they misunderstood. That was the Rams score. Bob, bring us home.
I also attended. You writing all this down?
Oh.
I want to make sure we're all on. I want to make sure somebody's writing this down, right? Yeah, I want to make sure we got the report. Okay. Okay. First of all, I attended the Focus on the Future, and I guess I learned the difference, and I'm not quite sure what Randy's degree is. There's a difference in a road engineer.
Oh, yeah.
And a bridge engineer. Well, but I really got involved with the road engineer because I thought I've never seen so many engineers in my life. There's a lot of them down there, and consultants, and they all segregate and turn around and talk things that I really didn't understand. But I did find out you can't associate. Am I right with this? You can't associate. What are you? A bridge engineer? No, Ross is a bridge engineer.
Historically, I've been a structures engineer, including bridges. But I did
So now wait, yeah.
tunnels too.
You did that too.
Confused.
He doesn't know what he is. But anyway, when you go down to there, you really get different aspects, different ideas, and I went out and had a cup of coffee because I was at the deal when
You had what?
I had a lot of coffee. But the idea was, they did pass that tax, which just blew me away, 1%, and you are absolutely correct. The lady went right to federal and state within, yeah, we still need money. That's what I got. But anyway, it was enlightening. I want to thank the board for letting me attend that. I think they're very knowledgeable. You pick up a lot, no matter who you talk to, whatever it's about. So I appreciate that. And then I wanted to comment tonight, we won't see you till after the holidays. The room is drop dead gorgeous. Staff did a great job. I don't know who did it, but
Randy.
whoever participated, Randy? I don't think so. But also, I want to give staff a lot of thanks and kudos from Bob Taylor. It's been a crazy year from January on to right now, and for what all of staff, what you do. We wouldn't be who we are in this organization without staff. I want to wish you a very nice Merry Christmas and a wonderful holiday with New Year's and friends and families, etc. So that being said, I'm finished.
Thank you, Bob. Executive staff report?
Thank you, Commissioners. Happy holidays. We had a lot of things going on this month. I think the main thing that we're working on now is there's an RFP out from the U.S. DOT. Secretary Fox has asked us various locations throughout the United States if they want to be designated as a federal test facility for autonomous vehicles. And so we actually, Lindsay and I did an interview that day with, it was on a Friday, I think it was before Thanksgiving. Where's Lindsay? It was the day before Thanksgiving, and the reporter didn't know if anybody worked at the authority on the day before Thanksgiving, so we called him at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he asked the question, are you going to apply to be designated as a federally designated test facility? And if I said off record, one of the things that we have found over the years that's getting harder and harder, not easier and easier to utilize federal dollars, for example. And so we push a lot for regulation reform. And so when you read the application, very specifically, it talks about there's no money coming with this designation. And, oh, by the way, you have to designate a person as a safety officer, then you have to, give up the data and all these other things. And so, our response was, we're carefully reading the requirements, and we're going to take a look at that. We want to know exactly what it means to be a federally designated test facility. Along the same lines, the City of Los Angeles' approach is saying, hey, we want to partner with you. Now the County of San Diego, SANDAG, has said, we want to partner with you. And so we're trying to figure out, one of the things that we talked about when the initial request came in to be designated as a connected vehicle test site was that One California was an application made by Caltrans, LA Metro, SANDAG, and MTC, but it went and stretched literally from Oregon all the way south to Mexico, and it was too big and it didn't get funded ultimately, and neither did ours. And so we're trying to figure out exactly how do we approach that. So Jack Hall has the lead on that, and we're going to really kind of strengthen the application to talk about our proximity to the Silicon Valley, because that's where all the automobile manufacturers have a research center there, and we want to kind of play that leveraging aspect. And then we're an hour away from Sacramento that if they did have a test facility, in my opinion, they might have some better rules. And so the latest report I get from Commissioner Budd is that the California DMV now is telling Uber, knock it off in San Francisco. Why? Because they don't have a test facility. So,
Talking about what they announced this morning?
Yeah, DMV is
Oh.
total.
Yeah, by the afternoon, they didn't
yes, and the flip side of the coin is the governor of Michigan has signed legislation that says the whole state's a test facility, do whatever you want. So we've gone from those. So I wanted to brief you. I did too attend the Focus on the Future. I had to leave at noon. We had a tech forum that we hosted, and it was there was people jamming their ways up along the sides of the facility to get into that place, and it was well attended. Senator Glazier has asked us for a tour of Gomentum Station. He wants to know what he can do as far as regulation reform is concerned. So Jack is going to take him through on December the 20th. And then he wanted, his team, Teresa, wanted to know if newly elected Assembly Member Grayson could go. And the guy has probably been in there more than me, but if he wants to go, that's fine. And then Assembly Member Baker as well. So I wanted to close tonight by saying that there was when Lindsay and everybody did the award-winning outreach to get information back from all of our constituents throughout Contra Costa County, and we got more comments in this cycle than the previous 25 years combined. One of the ladies that picked up the phone, Anna Rickelman, who works for BSK Associates, got to ask a question. Her son picked up the phone for whatever reason and said, "Hey, Mom, somebody wants to ask a question about transportation." She gets on the line. And I think, Julie, you answered a question. If you ask Ms. Rickelman, was the answer correct? Did she like the answer? She would tell you, "No, I didn't really like the answer because we didn't have enough money to do the things that she wants." But her son is here tonight. Am I correct, Rich? That's you, right? You're the one who answered the phone? Yeah, okay. And his friend is here, Claire, correct? All right, so they're high school students? Yeah, and they're doing an assignment. And their assignment is to attend and observe a public meeting for their government class. The real story here is they waited so long. This is the last meeting of the year. That's exactly correct. So welcome to the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. I hope it gave you an example of how a board interacts very collegially, and although they have some humor every now and again, they do get down to business and help guide the direction of the staff here at the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. So welcome. Do you want to say anything? Are you gonna major in civil engineering after this? Okay, that's okay. We'll take that too. All right.
We want to know what high school you go to. Which of our cities or counties, parts of the county are you from?
We live in Concord, but we go to school at Northgate.
So if you have any problems at high school, there's your supervisor, Supervisor Mitchell.
Northgate.
I'm finished. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
He can come to the party afterwards if he's 21. Have some coffee. Next item is 8.1, the calendar. Please take a look at it with the January and February dates, because I looked at it and I won't be here for either one. So Tom will be chairing those meetings, and the calendar of upcoming events. You even got something in Stockton. You can go listen to Don Tatson, and yes, go ahead, Karen.
And I'm sorry if I missed other board comments, but I did want to make a comment. Both Candace and I, recently attended the California State Association of Counties meeting, and one of their main focuses will be on transportation, and Candace is our chair, did a brief video about Fix Our Roads, and so you'll be seeing that hopefully in the near future. The concept is to play that in legislators' districts who need to be encouraged to support that. And coming in this evening, there was a news report about Governor Brown talking about climate change today, and I thought it was interesting because somebody said, I wish they'd take an overhead shot of the roads in California and get some potholes fixed and some roads repaired before we reach the goal of climate change. I thought that was an interesting comment.
Shame. Go ahead, Candace. I know you're burning. I saw the light go on.
No, I was just adding to Karen's comments, but indeed, we're very hopeful that, as we are all, this legislative cycle.
Member
We'll see
Tatson.
some.
So my understanding is this is Mr. Chittenden's last meeting as an authority member of the authority staff, and so I wanted to express my deep appreciation for all the work that you've done since you came, and particularly all the efforts over the past year to help put the expenditure plan and the growth management plan for Measure X together. And I would just ask that as the chair adjourns the meeting, we do so with great respect and thanks to Mr. Chittenden.
Okay, we shall do that as long as it doesn't come back to public. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
Through the chair, in regards to calendar, just a heads up, because I got notified, California League of Cities, for all new mayors, et cetera, council, et cetera, is going to be obviously Sacramento, but it also falls on the date we have CCTA. So you might want to check with alternates or find out if you're going to be in attendance.
Okay, if there are no further comments, we will adjourn in memory of, no, what are we doing?
In thanks and
In
appreciation.
thanks and appreciation of Mr. Chittenden. For those many years he should be in, no. Anyway, we are adjourned till Wednesday, January 18th at 6 p.m. And Ross, you can come back then, we'll give you one of those things.